Welcome to Gold and Black Live segment 2, and Terry Johnson joins us. If you're watching Purdue men's basketball, it's a new face, and yet not one that should be to basketball fans in Indiana and beyond. As Terry comes to Purdue from Ohio State after spending 4 years with the Buckeyes, 10 years at Butler. He's a legend in Anderson, Indiana, that I know. So that part is good. Terry, this is the highlight of your media career, but welcome to Gold and Black Live.
Oh, thanks for having me. And you use legend there, B.
I never want to use that term loosely, but that it's not loosely, it's true. So Terry, obviously the Boilermakers take on Indiana State tonight. You're off to as all basketball seasons are, always an interesting process. You had a big convincing win over Bellarmine on Tuesday night. You're a control. Your main role is the Boilermaker offense. Give us your evaluation, a little bit of what you're seeing, not only from your own team, but to what fans might see tonight when the Sycamores come calling, at least from a defensive standpoint.
Right. Well, it was obviously this is a new role for me, being on the offensive side, which is great, and it's been a lot of fun. I told my wife the other day, it's been uncomfortable, awesome, and challenging at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's been good. And we continue from the Providence scrimmage to UND game. We just continue to get better and played well versus Bellarmine. Made some shots. It's easy to call plays when you make shots. I tell you that much. And moving forward to tonight versus Indiana State, we plan on just continue to get better on the offensive sides, and the Indiana State defense will present some different things for us than our games in the past.
Yeah, Bellarmine, and I'll let Brian jump in and say Bellarmine presented some different things from the offensive standpoint, but kind of a different type of team. How do you look at that? How teams are going to defend you guys? I mean, obviously you were shot the ball extremely well on Tuesday night. If you do that, you're the world's greatest offensive coach when that happens.
Right.
But tell me about, how teams do you think will work to defend you? Are they going to try to make you shoot the ball, do you think, with your inside presence? How do you look at that? Or is that just really on a game-by-game basis?
It's game by game. We kind of look at their system. I kind of look at their system a little bit, but the things I look at most is how they're guarding the post and how they guard off the ball screening. And so, like, you got to, with us, you got to take away one thing. If you try to take away both, it could be a long night for you. And if we got both sides, the shooting and the inside going, it's going to be a long night for a lot of teams.
Yep.
Terry, you guys did a pretty good job the other night in transition. I thought anyway. How big a part of your formula is that from an offensive perspective this year, you think?
Huge. We've been putting a lot of emphasis on that side of, first of all, you got to get a stop and rebound the ball. Mm-hmm. And then we try to tell the guys, like, that's your reward. All right, you get a stop, rebound, let's go. Now, you want to go under control. We don't want to turn it over. We're not throwing it all over Mackey. But we want to get out and play as fast as we can without turning it over. And then if the team end up scoring on us, we want to execute our sets. And obviously, it's always a great thing to have the big fellas inside, throw it down into them.
Yeah. When you look at, you've obviously been in Mackey Arena as a coach, and in that great environment. It was great, obviously, for Purdue fans to be back and have fans in the stands. But just talk about that, and even your days at Ohio State. And I don't know, Butler, when your time at Butler, if you ever played in Mackey, but just what that environment's like, and what's it like for an offensive team, because it seems like it can fuel the fire sometimes when the fans get going. Sasha Stefanovic starts raining down threes. It again makes that offensive coach look good.
Yeah, for me, like the first exhibition game, when I found out it was sold out, like I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning that day. I was like super excited, like a kid. First day of Christmas. I never got to play here when I was at Butler. We didn't play here. But my first year playing in Mackey was with Ohio State. And that year, I mean, like, you couldn't hear yourself think. And I actually ended up being on the happy side of that night.
Yeah, right.
We ended up winning. But I also been, I think a couple of years later when Carson and Klein was raining threes, when they making threes and the crowd get going, like you really can't hear anything.
Yeah.
But now I'm excited. I'm on the other side. I'm back on the good side now when they're raining threes. And just it's loud. It's so loud, so intimidating. The paint crew, the fans, like it's awesome. It's awesome. And like now my boys are really excited. We used to have to bring them iPads just to keep their attention. Now they're so close, they're cheering. And I got 3 boys, one that's really focused and paying attention to what's going on. The other 2 are just like big cheerleaders. And it is a great thing to see. And it's great to have the fans back in Mackey.
Yeah.
So your first game in Mackey was the Kata Batesby up tip-in game, the Andre Wesson Bank.
Yes, yes, it was. We made a lot of threes that normally are guys that don't make.
Musa Jallo.
Yeah.
2 for 4, 3 for 4 that game. And we kind of knew how Coach Painter was going to play it. Like we were like, hey, you got to step in and make the shot. Like if you're open, we want you to take it, but you're going to be open. Like, so if it gets swung to you, don't hesitate.
The other night against Bellarmine, I thought your team did a good job passing the ball. I thought Jaden got off to a good start with some of his finds. I thought Travion obviously did a good job passing the ball. Shooters kind of shared the ball with other shooters. Just can you assess that part of the offense and just the process of getting the shots in addition to actually taking the shots?
Yeah, like I'll start with Travion. Obviously, he got in foul trouble a little bit, and I think he took 1 shot in the game, but he was valuable in that game. And he played a great game up to this point. Like he didn't mope about getting in foul trouble. He made everybody around him better. And I love to watch him pass, even though I'm like, hey, sometimes you 2 feet from the basket, I want you to score the ball. But he just loved to pass the ball. He loved to make his teammates better. And it was a great thing to see. And Jaden got off to a great start passing the ball. We're still having him learn to understand, like, people are going to collapse on you a lot faster. So just make the right read. And sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. And I think that's just deal with youth and maturity in that aspect. And I think he gotten better from last year. And I think he's going to continue to get better in that regard this year.
You know, coaches sometimes are representative of how they play. Now, I don't know, Matt Painter talks about the kind of player he was and what he brought to the table, a big guard that could pass the basketball. What was Terry Johnson like as a player at Lamar, and what traits do you bring? You know, what do you love in basketball players, offensive, defensive guys? What do you see? What part of you do you bring to the table as a coach?
Well, I'm transforming a little bit right now.
Yeah.
What I bring is like just high energy, positive energy, a little tough love. And obviously I was mainly focused defensively. So now I'm trying to calm down a little bit, but also still be high energy and positive, and just play with some emotion, like play with emotion and passion. Because what we do, it's not work. I have a great time. I stay up late watching film. I love it. My kids are starting to really get into it now, but it just passion, and take pride in whatever you're doing. Every time you step on the floor, whether it's practice, game, in front of people, in front of 14,000, in front of one person, it doesn't matter. Like, play the game the way it's supposed to be played, and do it with a lot of passion, and then do it with your teammates. And that makes it fun. That makes the work, most people, whatever you call work, fun. Yeah. And that's what I'd like to try to bring to the Boilermaker family and program. But it's already been here. It's been built. I'm just trying not to mess it up.
Has the transition to this being the first time you're calling offense, has that kind of rejuvenated you at all as a coach, or giving you a little bit of extra energy, kind of having that new challenge?
I wouldn't say extra. And I think challenge. I think it's really challenging for me to, obviously I know how to stop people. Now I'm trying to figure out how to attack it, which is, I also go back to my thinking defensively. I like, now what would I do if they would do this to me? So if they try to counter something. So it's been fun in that regard and challenging at the same time. But like I said, it's been awesome. And I got a lot of great guys here helping me out. So the transition has been real easy with Coach Painter teaching me that side. And it's always great to have former players like PJ Thompson, Spike Albright, and Tommy Luce here to help me out as well.
Talk about that. All assistant coaches, you want to be a head coach someday, and this obviously the opportunity to run an offense, but also to be involved. You've been around great programs every place you've been, so that's part of your resume. Why is this a great missing piece or a great addition to your resume? I understand you're not here to leave Purdue next year. I'm just saying, as you look at your own personal profile, what makes this such a great fit for you?
I think just I can't get pigeonholed in just being a defensive-minded guy. Like, I understand both sides. That doesn't mean, like, if I ever get my first opportunity as head coach, that I'm going to totally take over and be an offensive-minded coach and team. But I have an understanding on whoever I give that responsibility to that what they're going through, and I can be able to help in regard, even though my mindset probably going to be mainly focused defensively.
Yeah. Hey, just how has the operational part of this gone for you? Obviously, one of the challenges of your role is to basically only watch half the game. Is that something you've had to kind of rewire yourself to acclimate to?
Well, just watching the other team's defense before. In the past, I'm just watching the other team's offense, which I think that helped me too, because I had to write out all the Purdue plays, like and I'm putting a scout team. So I kind of almost was an offense coordinator a little bit, putting the scout team through the sets that our team going to defend. So it kind of helped. It goes hand in hand, but like watching one side of the ball, I've kind of been used to that. But I always try to watch one full game, either the night before or right after I'm finished my part of the scout, just to get a feel for the overall game, and maybe I can help out if Coach Luss and Coach Brandon busy, I can help them out or help a player out and just say a few things so we can be consistent.
During the game, though, you're not really watching Purdue on offense, are you?
No, I'm trying to figure out the next play call. I thought it was going to be such a whirlwind when I couldn't watch much, but I am able to watch the set just so I can see how they defend on time to time, but also have a play or two in my mind or written down that I may want to come to right after, just depending on how they defended us.
Your opportunity to work with coaches over the years, and you're falling from the Brad Stevens, and now working with a guy like Matt Painter. Talk about your time. What makes those guys really good at what they do? What have you learned from the head coaches, of course, Chris Holtman too, that really will help you as you move forward in your role at Purdue, but also potentially down the road?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to work for like Ty Licklider, you said Brad Stevens, Coach Holtman, and now Coach Painter. Like I get the best of all worlds with all those guys, and everyone presented a different approach, but at the same time, they all wanted their teams to be good people, obviously good players, and then just play the right way. Like, don't be disrespectful to the game. I learned, from Coach Licklider to just being on time, to Brad Stevens, staying positive and keeping things really simple. Like, people don't understand how simple that guy is. Like, he moved to Boston. He went to Boston Celtics. He's still the same guy that he was when he was at Butler. Before we jumped out on the big stage at Butler. Yeah. And then you got Coach Holtman, who just intense, competitive. Like, his big word is competitive. Him and Coach Painter have that like, they look for competitive guys. That's what those both guys have in common. And then you got Coach Painter, who I've known for a long time, but never worked with him until this year. Obviously, he coached my twin cousins back when he was in Division III coaching. Yeah. And just to see how laid back he is and how he had to adjust with the times on, like, I remember watching his teams early. He had a lot of talent and he wasn't getting the results that he wanted. And he just flipped. He said, you have to be able to adjust in order to succeed. And he adjusted his recruiting. And he was a defensive-minded guy. And now I think he's still a defensive-minded guy, but obviously the offense has picked up well here over his time here. So just being able to adjust and learn from all these guys has been great. And I have probably a stack that maybe even higher, but I'm going to just stay right here on things that I've learned from each one of them.
All right, Brian, got time for one more. Go ahead.
Hey, Terry, just kind of coming out of the opener, you guys shot the ball well. You didn't turn the ball over very much. Obviously, I'm sure there were things on film you wanted to get better at. What are some of those things that were kind of a hot button for you these days leading up to Indiana State?
Probably more so. Obviously, we still want to get up in transition, and screen bodies like in our sets. You tend to screen your own teammate. You know where you're supposed to go, but that doesn't necessarily mean the defense is going to be right there. So screen bodies and not your teammate, and obviously, and just continue to share the basketball. Shots not going to go down all the time, and I thought we got better defensively. I still get a glance to get to look at the defense.
Can't help it.
Yeah, but like we talked about it. I think Coach talked about it after the UND game. We just felt like UND came into Mackey and played harder than we did. Yeah. And we were just bigger and more talented, and so we got away with a lot of stuff. And we all said it, and I really said, I was like, fellas, like I played against Purdue for a long time, and I'm glad to be a part of. But like, don't nobody come into Mackey and outwork us. Like we're a blue collar program. Like that doesn't happen. And the guys, they stepped up. We had a little bit more purpose about ourselves versus Bellarmine, and the results showed. And hopefully we could continue that tonight versus Indiana State.
All right, Coach, thanks so much for your time, and we appreciate it. Welcome to West Lafayette and Purdue. I know you've been here for a little while, been here before, but we appreciate your expertise and really look forward to not only tonight's game, but what will be a very interesting basketball season for the Boilermakers heading into 2021 and into 2022. We will be back for segment 3, I should say. Ernie Schrumeyer, a former Boilermaker football player that actually was part of a road win at Ohio State the last time Purdue won there in 1988. Still, we'll look forward to talking to Ernie. Ernie would be a good point guard. He's about 5'9", but he's like a bowling ball. He would have been he'd have been a good, or at least a good defender, I would say. So guys, thanks, thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day, Terry, and good luck tonight.
All right, thanks for having me.